All right, everybody, welcome back into another episode of the markleskopodcast. Joined once again by Chris Gorki. Chris, he's been on here many times. Last time he was on here is a while ago, and we've just been busy. And check out his latest episode on Big Ten Huddle. Talks about Danton Lynn. But Chris, welcome back in, man.
Thanks. Hope you guys are doing well. Everybody had a good holiday.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to Chris and everybody. We've been on here a lot, but since I posted the episode, there's been people commenting, so we'll get to them. But Chris, there's a lot going on. We'll just jump right into it. What's your thoughts on all the coaching moves? Because we haven't even talked since we talked a lot during the coach search, but we haven't really talked since they hired Matt Campbell. So,
I love Matt Campbell as a hire. I mean, everybody knows he's been a good coach for a long time that a lot of teams have been trying to pluck away every year, and we were lucky enough to finally do it. I mean, he's the very definition of a guy that does more with less, excuse me. He's a good coach. He's a no-nonsense guy. I know people wanted like a bigger named offensive coordinator, but fit is important, and this Taylor Mauser is a good young offensive coordinator. He's creative. It's more important, I think, for coaches to work with guys that are comfortable, that gel together and have a good fit, than just bring a bunch of random big names in that, and just try to make it work. I mean, Jim Knowles, to me, absolutely sucked, and he's supposed to be one of the big name defensive coordinators out there, just as an example. So I'm happy with the coaching changes. Danton Lynn, I'm happy, but I'm kind of in a wait and see mode. He improved UCLA's defense from like 110 to like 10th in the country when he took over UCLA. He did the same thing with USC, but USC's defense, when they had Alex Grinch, was like the worst defensive coordinator I think there was. They're like 120th in scoring defense. And he improved them from like giving up like 34, 35 points a game. And then when he took over, they only gave up 24 a game. And then last year or this season, I think it was like 22 a game. But the question about Lynn is, what did he have to work with at USC? They're recruiting pretty well now, USC, but the past few years while he was there, I don't think they had a ton of talent on defense. I don't think he had as much talent as what PSU has had recently. So just have to wait and see. I with any defensive coordinator that they bring in, I just hope it's a guy that plays aggressive. I always like a Manny style type of aggressive type of defense. I know you can't blitz, just go out all out blitzing every down and play man defense every down. But I do hope your MO is to be an aggressive style of defense. I know Danton Lynn said that usually he doesn't have one set scheme, that he adjusts his scheme around what his personnel is, which makes sense, and that's a good thing. So we just have to wait and see. I just hope, I know he coached under Paterno a little bit, or played under Paterno a little bit, that he doesn't have like this big old bend but don't break soft zone, which I don't think he will. So I'm in a wait and see mode with Danton Lynn. Still have to get a D-line coach and a running back coach. Noah Pauley, wide receiver coach that came in, that's a great addition. He was one of the, I don't know if he won, there was an award somewhere he won as the top receiver coach in 2024. I know he's supposed to be one of the better receiver coaches in the country, which we could drastically use. So I'm happy overall with the coaching changes thus far. Very happy with Matt Campbell and how it turned out so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy with the moves they've made. I'm happy with Danton Lynn getting hired. I'm happy with at this point, Matt Campbell's a real coach, and we have Terry Smith, who's also a real coach. I'm picking up background to me talking, Chris, and it's fine. It's not a big deal. But if you guys can hear that, I don't know why, but it's Chris being on is good enough. So yeah.
If I need to go out and come back in, let me know. I'll try. I don't know.
No,
if I need these.
you're good. It's not a big deal.
All right.
It's not even like loud or anything. So,
All right.
but it's that. Yeah. So I don't really care about bringing in like these big name hires. We have Matt Campbell. We have Terry Smith. That alone right there is good. We're bringing Danton Lynn, Taylor Mauser. I mean, we're bringing in a lot of good guys. These guys are going to coach well. They're going to develop guys. And, people keep saying like they want talent, they want this, they want that. When you have a real coach who actually develops, and then you have a guy like Terry Smith at his right side,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, more talent helps, like hire star guys, whatever it is. But whoever we bring in here, we're going to make better at football. So we haven't had a real coach in 12 years. Now we do. So the approach can be different and everything, which is nice. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about like Danton Lynn, like that's a great hire. I mean, I wouldn't really call it like much of a splash hire, but it's a great hire. Like I'm happy with it. I did not think we would get him. And then I'm hearing Deontay Pinnell is going to be maybe the D-line coach. So, overall, I'm happy with the moves. Thomas, Toby, Robert, welcome in. David K., thanks for the super sticker again. But, yeah, Grunk leaving sucks. We're going to get into the player movement. There's some guys leaving, some guys staying. Well, yeah. So, Indiana, yeah, VT spots for Grunk. Well, he's cooked if he goes to VT.
He's not going to go. I don't see him going to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, there's no way, dude. There's no way. Rojas staying. Yes, he is. How the heck? Yeah, I don't know. Blake yeah. So Alonzo Barnett is who Thomas was talking about because we were wondering who you meant, Thomas. We were like, who? But yeah. So Mauser, if they can bring in the right guys, man, like because
there is a Blake Barnett on Kansas State. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. Oh, you're good. Yeah, Blake Barnett, I think he's the guy that won the national title with Alabama back in the day. But, they have real coaches now. And if Mauser comes in, and I've heard this from multiple sources, that he's aggressive on offense, he drops his nuts every game, and he's going to we're going to score points. And then you combine that with Danton Lynn, who runs a simple defense, but it's successful. It's going to be a good combination. I mean, with the coaches that are coming in, the players that we're going to get, he's a real coach, Campbell. So, it's like I'm excited. I'm not going to get my hopes up like I did with I really had my hopes up this year with Franklin. I mean, I always kept in mind that it's still James Franklin, the head coach, that anything could totally go wrong, and it did. So I always kept that in mind. But this coming season, I'm going to be excited, but I'm going to kind of temper my expectations. But the schedule is pretty favorable as well. So overall, we just got to kind of let things play out and kind of sit back and just watch the show unfold. And, we're in a good position, and they're going to keep making good moves. Like, we have a real coach, and that's it. That's all we need to know. We have a real coach now. It's crazy.
Schedule's very favorable. It's the perfect schedule to have, a rebuild for, if you even want to call it a rebuild. I think it's going to be more of a reload. But the schedule's very favorable. No Ohio State, no Indiana. Toughest games are Michigan on the road. We have USC at home, Washington on the road, and that's really it. We don't play Iowa either, so it is an easy schedule, which is perfect for a rebuild. But just to get into some of the players here.
Yep, let's do it.
Just to give an example of like a real coach and what Matt Campbell could do. Just about every single player that on Iowa State's roster has entered the portal. I mean, the last I checked, I think it was like yesterday, they only had like 16. They only had 16 players left on their entire roster, which is crazy. But just to give an example, when you talk development and coaching, everybody knows Iowa State doesn't get big-time talent. They're not getting 4 and 5 stars. But if you look at the portal rankings, and I don't know how many people in the chat go on 24/7 or go on On3, but go on On3, check in, just filter through and check in the portal rankings by position. Iowa State has the number 1 corner in the portal, a 4-star corner named Jontez Williams. They have the number 1 tight end in the portal named Ben Bramer. That's probably going to come here. They have another 4-star guy, and these guys weren't, to my knowledge, they weren't 4-stars coming out of high school, but they re-rank them when they enter the portal. They give them a portal ranking. They have another 4-star portal guy, a tight end named Gabe Burkle. They have a pretty top receiver named Chase Sowell that's in the portal. They have a couple other they have a safety who's a 4-star safety named Jeremiah Cooper. So, I mean, they got, like, Iowa State has a lot of guys that were just 3-star guys that are now in the portal as top portal players, 4-star guys. They have a running back in the portal that named Abe Sarla. That is a 4-star guy. Actually, I think their other guy, Carson Hansen's, even better. And they're all these guys are in the portal. Does that mean we're going to get all of them? No, but I think we're going to get I think we're going to get the most important ones. And that's just a testament to the player development that Matt Campbell and his staff has done. As far as the roster moves, do you want me to talk about that, or you want anything else you want to mention?
Well, so I just want to say real quick, Chris, I'm just going to say this. You listed out the players that left in our chat, but and staying and whatnot, but I'll just go through this real quick. So Speck is gone. Gilliam's gone. Rapp is staying, thank God. Reynolds is leaving. Shanahan's leaving. Gronk's leaving, which sucks. Javen's leaving. Granville's staying. Davian is staying. Tash is staying. Davian Collins is staying. Josiah Brown is gone. Ono is gone. Ono is returning, right?
I'm not sure. Returning. I haven't seen anything on him yet, but
Owen Alchien or something. Chimdi Ono is returning. Rojas is returning. So I'm happy with the guys that are staying. It's, Grunk, the grass isn't always greener. So we'll see how it works out for him. But I think he's making a mistake by leaving. But it is what it is. As long as he doesn't go to VT, I think he'll be okay. But I think he's too smart to go to VT.
He's leaving because they're bringing Rocco Becht in. I mean, this was to be expected right from the get-go. I mean, ever since Campbell was hired, everybody knew he was bringing Rocco Becht in. And, I mean, I don't blame Grunk for leaving. Personally, I would rather stay with Grunk. I think there's more. So just to compare Grunk to Rocco Becht, okay, I love Ethan Grunkenmeyer. I've watched him. I do player evaluations. I watched him since he was a sophomore, junior in high school, and I watched him get better and better. We all saw the talent on display. He would be here for another probably would have been here another 2-3 years. So I would have stayed with him because Rocco Becht, you only get 1 year. So the comparison player-wise, Grunk is, in my opinion, he's a more talented passer overall, where Rocco Becht is a good passer, not as accurate, doesn't have as much overall arm talent, but Rocco Becht is more of a Trace McSorley-like. He knows how to run the offense. He's mobile. He can move, and the offense just clicks with him, and he has familiarity with it. They run a spread. They run RPOs. They probably run some read options. And that does fit a running quarterback better. That said, like I said, I would have personally kept Grunkenmeyer, especially with having several years of eligibility left. But it's Rocco Becht coming. Is not a bad thing. We're not losing Grunkenmeyer for some average quarterback coming in. We got a pretty good quarterback coming in. His completion percentage hasn't been great. It's only around 60%, but he's still a very good quarterback. Now, what's interesting is what people are talking about, and I really have no indication either way. The backup quarterback at Iowa State is a really good-looking backup, who I think was just in his first year, named Alex Mansky. Kid with a big arm, pretty mobile, really big arm. Another 4-star talent. I think he was a 4-star on 3. If they could bring Alex Mansky in, and I have no idea if this is going to happen or not, but if they bring him in, then that answers your problem for the following year as well. because, Alex Mansky, all indications, knew he was going to be backing up Rocco Beck one more year if they're at Iowa State, and then he was going to take over. So maybe he comes to Penn State, and then, we're in pretty good shape for a quarterback in 2027 and beyond. And something I just want to know, like, there's always going to be some big, some big losses. There's always going to be movement in the portal. But if you go to the other coaching changes at big schools, go look at Florida, Auburn, and LSU. More so Florida and Auburn. They had huge losses. What we have lost in comparison to what they have, we're doing much, much better. A much better job. We have way less big losses. Like losing Luke Reynolds, a lot of people are going to say, oh, that sucks. But he didn't have a good year. We're bringing Rapp back. And like I said, we're going to go out and get at least 1 or 2 4-stars tight ends that are NFL guys from Iowa State. This Ben Bramer's a good tight end. He's better. He's probably, Reynolds was young, but what he showed last year, this Bramer was better than Reynolds. And so we're going to be fine there. And there's something people have to understand about what's been going on the past couple of weeks since Campbell's been here with NIL. His GM has been completely restructuring their NIL of how Franklin did it. So they've been sitting down with players. They're restructuring their contracts. Some are happy, some are not. And they're doing a great job of keeping most of the key players. And, this isn't about Franklin. I'm not going on a rant about him. But just to give you an example, everybody saw Brandon Finney light it up today. We could have had him for $400,000, but they didn't want to give it to him. But he'd give it to guys like Liam Clifford he gave $500,000 to. That's ridiculous. Now, here's an example, though. He didn't want to pay top recruits, but then he wanted to have a couple. I just found this out. He wanted to have a couple big win in recruiting battles, especially for in-state kids. So he gave Andrew Olish, who I think is a very good-looking young tight end. He gave him $1 million NIL deal, and I believe he gave Quentin Martin a really big NIL deal because he was at the time the top player in PA. So you don't want to overpay for certain guys, but then when you have absolute studs like Finney, not pay at all. So they're restructuring all this. Like, you don't need to give Andrew Olish $1 million. I don't know if Andrew Olish is staying or going, but you restructure his deal. You save some money from Andrew Olish of what you're giving him, and maybe you use that to try to keep a guy like a Tony Rojas or, an Andrew Rapulé, for example. That is presently what's going on. Moving forward, the 2 guys I'm most concerned about leaving that haven't, and we already know Chaz Coleman is gone, and you announced the names. The 2 guys I'm most concerned about leaving right now is Egan Boyer and Ivan Camacho. From what I was told, from what I gathered today, both are leaning towards leaving. Boyer really liked Trout. Boyer originally is from, I think, North Carolina. So there's a good chance he's leaving, maybe to follow Trout. That's why TJ Shanahan left. Camacho's a pretty big loss. He's not irreplaceable, but Camacho was doing some really nice things. He really set the edge well. Physical style defensive end that had some burst and explosion, similar to Denai Dennis Sutton. I'm not sure why he wants to leave, but from what I was told, he's looking at testing the market. And there's a chance, even if he leaves, that he might, just test the market, see what's out there, and possibly come back. Because they could put their name in, maybe not like the offers they get, and come back. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But I'm just saying there's a chance. There are 2 big ones. Getting Granville back is huge. Granville, we don't know what he's going to do coming off injury, but he was very explosive defensive end with a ton of upside. Owen Allison, that guy is – him and Egan Boyer were stud offensive tackles, young offensive tackles. Owen Allison is big. He is going to be one of our starting offensive tackles. Anthony Donker coming back, whether he's a tackle or a guard, is pretty big. Garrett Sexton is coming back. Cooper Cousins is coming back. So this offensive line, the core pieces besides Boyer and Shanahan, the other core pieces, we're looking really good there. We're looking good. Rojas coming back is good. Amari Campbell is leading, coming back. Darius Dixon is coming back. He came on at the end of the year. He's supposed to be one of our top corners. Okay. Who else? Kobe Howard hasn't announced yet, but he's leading, coming back. So they're really doing a good job restructuring their NIL and doing everything they could to keep the key pieces in place. They're doing a good job of that. So I'm definitely happy with the way things are going.
They are, man. Yeah, they are doing a really good job. And to be honest with you, man, like the worst thing to me that could have happened really was losing Gronk. And, it is what it is. Like, if you don't want to stay, like, I don't blame you. It is what it is. But PSG, hold on a second. Let me pull this up. So Exeter is leaving. Which
a lot of young receivers are leaving. A lot of the young receivers that have been there for just a year or two are leaving. Yeah. I did hear Lyric Samuel is staying. A lot of young receivers, Josiah Brown, Exner, Matthew Alton is leaning on leaving. But again, if you took the top 5-6 young receivers, the two best ones you want to stay, Kobe Howard and Samuel, are likely staying. So again, it's good. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
you're good, man. DeJuan Lane is also staying. Thank God.
Yep, I forgot to mention him. Dude, that's another big one.
He's one of my favorite guys. But I want to see. I want Quentin Martin to come back. He's my favorite player. But thank you, Talezi. Thank you. Lots of QBs in the portal. Sorry, joined late. Do you think Bo's coming back? No.
No.
So, a couple things, Chris. Brett and I in our group chat, we were going back and forth a little bit. When TJ Shanahan left, he was upset because we need interior linemen, and we need interior linemen. We're going to get some, like you just said. We got portal guys, we got Iowa State guys, and I didn't think TJ Shanahan was all that great, to be honest with you. He was a transfer under Franklin from A&M, I think, or something.
Yeah, from A&M.
I don't know. I was never that impressed with him. But
no, I mean he was like the first guy off the bench. He came in, he was out of shape. He had to restructure his body. And I mean, he was solid, nothing special, but he was a guy that loved Trout. Trout was the one that got him to transfer up here. Trout went to Florida. TJ Shanahan's originally from Florida. Right out of the gate, people told me Shanahan's going to follow Trout. So,
someone just said now that everyone can pay players other than the SEC, now it's even.
Yeah.
But
it's not even close to even, but I wish it was.
So Avon Kamaju is another guy that I don't want to leave. He has a motor. Jalen Harvey's, these are guys. Jalen Harvey motor, he's leaving. Chaz Coleman motor, he's leaving. Avon Kamaju motor, I hope he stays. So it is what it is. Whoever we lose or get back, I think it's going to work out pretty well. Like, something always happened under the Franklin. Like, we would lose a coach, or we would lose a player, or we'd lose this, we'd lose that, right when we were on the cusp of, like, breaking through. And it never happened. But now we have a real coach, so it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter somewhat largely what happens right now because we have real coaches now. So that's just something everyone needs to keep in mind. We have real coaches now. Chris and I think exactly the same way when it comes to Franklin. Chris hates him way more than I. Well, I hate him, but Chris hates him way more because Chris really hates him. But we see exactly alike on that. Man, it was just so bad. Like, God, it was so bad. And I'm not trying to get on.
For the record, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I'm just I didn't always hate it. I supported him the majority of his time here. And I thought he did a good job, but there was just too much that went on behind the scenes that I knew about with his character. And then I just watched his stubbornness with NIL, his stubbornness with how he went about his players, with the guy, he was too arrogant to change. And just too many things I knew where I just had enough. And it just, near the end, it just got to the point of, this is ridiculous, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's an absolute clown. You could be as efficient as Sane or Gronk, but without the ability to extend against. But yeah, what you said about Rocco, man, I didn't know he was like a mobile guy like McSorley. That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And here's another thing too. Like when you have a real coach and you make players better, the recruiting is going to fall in place, the portal is going to fall in place, the coaching is going to fall in place. And when you play for a real coach, you don't lose guys. Like we had so many guys, it was like a freaking turnstile of coaches coming in and out of Penn State because one, they came here and they usually did pretty good, but they probably didn't want to coach for, good old Fraudlin. So it is what it is, and that's why Dan Lynn didn't come here. He didn't want to coach for Franklin. Are you kidding me? He's an absolute clown.
That is part true. People won't say that, but I did hear that. Like that is part true. So
and Chris, you've talked about his character on here. I mean, the guy was an absolute. It's just a totally different thing now. So we all have to be grateful for that. I mean, we have to wait and see. It's a wait and see thing for all of this. Chris and I were just talking about it on the phone. Like Terry Smith, there was times this year, and again, I don't think he had his full grip on the team at certain time, up until, Nebraska on, but like clock management, like there was some serious mistakes that were made that the head coach should have stepped in and been like, all right, like don't call a timeout right now. It's a waste. And it was just there was some bad things that happened, but even Terry Smith, for me, next year, going through a whole offseason with what is his title? Does he have a title?
He's assistant head coach, I think.
Yeah, so
but he still doesn't have a position.
Yeah,
I would think he'll probably help out, be a corners coach. Like they got this Broomfield guy who is a DB coach. I don't know if this Broomfield they brought in from Iowa State is safeties and corners, if he does both of them. But I would imagine Terry, regardless of what his title is going to be, is going to really be helping out with corners, since that's what he did prior, I would think.
Someone just said expand the playoff to 48 teams.
Well, it's going to expand, not to 48, but probably 16 at least.
Well, Chris, if you have nothing else to say about player movement right now, I think we've pretty much covered it all. We'll get into the college football playoff. And Chris and I are usually pretty efficient when we're on here. Like Brett and I will say, let's do a quick episode. And then like an hour and a half later, we're like, all right, guys, like we got to go. But the college football playoff, man, all of it combined, it's a very broad question and topic for you to talk about. But like this year, it sucks that Tulane and JMU got in. Now, Tulane, pretty decent team. And that's why I think Ole Miss is actually going to do pretty good against Georgia, maybe go on, because Tulane was not a terrible team. But let's be real. You let in like a BYU or Notre Dame or a Texas into the playoff over a Tulane and JMU. They need to just let in the top 12 straight up. That's it. But
yeah,
the thing is, they always rank Notre Dame higher because of their logo. That's it. So as long as they get the rankings right, I think it should be top 12, top 14, no matter what at the end of the day. And real quick, with the NIL and the portal, parity is a thing now in college football. So if you're a Tulane and you want to compete, put a bunch of money into your program, join a different conference, whatever you have to do to compete at the national level. Like you have to change if you want to compete at the national level. They shouldn't just get a shoe-in thing like Notre Dame is next year, I guess. So what do you think about it all right now, including the games right now? I mean,
well, I took Bama, so I'm not too happy about that. I thought with 7 points they might hang in there a little bit. But no, I mean, when it doesn't work out, when you bring in these low-level teams, like a JMU with Tulane, and they get blown out, it never looks good. I mean, the thing is you want to keep conferences relevant. So what I would do, this isn't going to help it. I mean, not anybody's going to listen to me. But they should just have an NIT style, like how they for basketball for these lower level teams. Now they have like an FCS championship. They do that for FCS for certain conferences that are considered FCS. They should create another one. The playoff. If you just had the playoff for strictly Power 4 teams, you'd be all right. Like just have a playoff for strictly Power 4 teams, and then create another playoff similar to the FCS for your JMUs, for your, like, there's enough conferences out there. So just, just create it like that. I mean, I hate Notre Dame, but let's be honest, they would have been better than JMU or Tulane. I don't think with the format, they deserve to get in over Miami, obviously. But, that's my opinion. Now, every now and then you're going to have a Cincinnati type. Where from years ago, Cincinnati was good. And I don't know if they made the playoffs, but they did make the playoffs that one year. And I think they played pretty decent against Bama. You'll have one of these JMUs or Tulanes that will have a good showing in the playoff. But it's just going to be few and far between, most likely.
Yeah.
So I would just have a set. I would rather just keep it to Power 4 conference. The main playoffs for the FBS is just Power 4 schools only, plus Notre Dame, and then have a separate one for your JMU Tulanes type, just like they do with the FCS schools. Because there's enough conferences, they could do that with the lower levels. That's that's what I would do. Other than that, it is what it is. Big win for Miami. Great defense. Yeah,
Their fans
great.
are absolutely atrocious, man. Their fans have been talking so much crap all offseason. Notre Dame fans been talking crap. It is what it is, but I'm just so glad that fan base is going to have their mouths shut. They're going to keep talking, but most of them are bandwagons, so, next year they won't have as many fans. I mean, I have a ton of respect for Ohio State, but I hate them, and most of their fans suck. But I just saw that Chaz Coleman's crystal ball to Ohio State. So
my buddy's saying I got to put my camera on top of my computer screen. I'm holding a phone. I'm moving around because I'm holding a phone because the connection's better than the laptop. That's why it's probably moving around a little bit. But
who said that?
Nobody in the chat. It's a friend of mine that texted me.
It's
just a friend of mine. It's nobody in the chat. Yeah, just a friend who watches the show.
So someone said hard to get excited about a QB with only this, and this against Big 12 cupcake defenses. Bro, he was at Iowa State, man. What do you want him to do? He didn't really have many weapons this year. Like, he's at Iowa State. Like, you come into Penn State and you have a combination of Penn State players, coaches. Like, it's just going to be a better situation for him.
Yeah, he's going to have more talent. He's going to have a better offensive line to protect him and more talent. Like, when I say he's a Trace McSorley type, I'm not saying he's going to be identical to Trace or run as much as Trace, but he is a mobile. He's a good deep. He's good with the deep ball. He doesn't have as big of an arm as Druckenmeier, but he's good. He's a good deep ball thrower. He could stretch the field with his arm, and he is very mobile. He might not be quite as mobile as what Trace did because Trace ran a lot, but this guy will extend plays. He knows the offense. He gets the ball out quick. Like, you can't just assume that because the guy was at Iowa State and it was the Big 12 that people do that all the time. I have this buddy, I got this friend I work with, and, I love watching recruiting film on players, right? Like Keemon Spell, for example. And I'll show this guy every now and then some clips of some of these like big recruits that Penn State's targeting. And he goes, oh, well, it's against high school talent. Well, no shit, because he's playing in high school. If the argument you're making is that, well, it's against bad talent, therefore it's only high school talent, therefore it's not going to work out, well, then nobody would be good because they all come from
nobody's
high school.
Good then.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what people expect. Like, it is what it is. I mean, is that, Kyler Murray played in the Big 12. Baker Mayfield played in the Big 12. There's ton of quarterbacks that came from the Big 12. It is what it is. I get what you're saying, but Jaden, whatever. What could you do?
Real quick, guys, State Light, great beer. Check it out. I don't drink beer. I usually drink the seltzer, the girl stuff, but that's good stuff. So, Chris, you're a beer guy, right?
I don't drink a lot anymore. I'm not a big alcohol guy. If I go out, which I don't ever go out, I'll drink more shots than I do anything else because, I don't know, beer doesn't agree with me. But I did hear a lot about that State Light. That's a local, state college beer, isn't it? Yeah.
It's NIL beer, I guess, and then they have the whiteout tequila. It's all NIL stuff. So when you buy,
They sponsor. Right, I remember that.
Yeah, they do have the it factor, Thomas. And Chris has said it too. Like Gronk, there's certain things about him. Again, I think it's wrong of him. I think it's a bad move of him to leave, but I wish him the best. I don't think it's like a loyalty thing. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think all these guys that are leaving, if you don't want, because here's the thing. You're playing for real coaches. You're playing for Terry and you're playing for Matt Campbell. These are real coaches. So if you don't want to be coached by real coaching, because everything else is going to fall into place, man. Matt Campbell is not a 1-0 guy. He's not a like we're going to go win the national title this year. We brought in Jim Knowles, and this is the best staff we've ever had. We're going to do what we need to do, the basics right, and that will lead to wins. You're not going to hear him say, like, we're winning the national title this year, or why, like Franklin was just running his mouth at the Big Ten Media Days this year, whatever. I mean, well, last year now, but it's like, dude, he's just, you do the right things. You do the things you need to right, and that's what he does. That's all you need to do. Everything else is going to fall into place. That's it. It's like having a routine. Like if you have a routine, things, things are just going to be better.
An old coach that once said, take care of the little things and the big things will fall into place. That coach was pretty good.
Can't remember who that was, but
yeah, that was Joe Paterno for the people.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, man, I think it's gonna work out. Like again, like Chris and I, we are old school fans. We have been watching Penn State football for years. We see things very similarly when it comes to what happened before and what's happening now. Like again, we haven't had a real coach for we haven't had a real coach for 12 years. Like I think everyone needs to truly sit back and think about what that means. We didn't have a real coach for 12 years. So before that, we had Joe Paterno for 50 years, real coach. Bill O'Brien, real coach. And then we had Fraudlin. So, by the way, Chris, we've been keeping up on his videos and stuff, but oh my, bro, they're cooked. They're cooked, man.
And Virginia Tech loves him. They think he's going to do all this great stuff with NIL. I'm like, the guy doesn't spend. They don't know. But I think maybe a school like Virginia Tech, he might be okay because he doesn't like to spend NIL. Now, Virginia Tech historically is not a school that goes out and recruits these big-time 4-star, 5-star guys. They'll get some 4 stars here and there. That's it. So he won't be in recruiting battles for a Key Monspell type of guy versus like an Ohio State or Notre Dame or Georgia. If he's going to recruiting, he's going to be in recruiting battles with schools like Virginia, Pitt. And he does win over parents with his coach talk and all that. I'm genuine family atmosphere bull crap. So with these lower level guys with these average 3 stars, he could get away offering $50,000 to them. So maybe he'll be all right there. I don't know. I don't care. I told people if we play him and we don't win 100-0, that's not good a day. Nothing less than 100-0. Screw it.
Chris, he coached in the NFL. You can't forget he coached in the NFL. So
yeah, 1 year at the Packers.
He has a great resume. So here's another thing I want to say. I think we're going to out recruit him like every year. And there's VT fans. They're like, we're going to win the national title. It's like, dude, you got what is wrong with you? Seriously.
They think they're going back to the glory days of Michael Vick or something.
It's insane. Like they played one national title, I think, their whole existence, and they got blown out by LSU. So
yeah, I think it was LSU. Our Florida State. I think they played in the national championship. I think it was Florida State.
They're cooked, bro. Like they are totally cooked.
Yeah,
like they're gonna win games to Virginia Tech standards, but they're like overall, like they're cooked. Like
he might be good for like prominent in the ACC, and there might be some years they're in the running to win the ACC because the ACC sucks. I mean, it is outside of It is what it is. And, and just getting back to what you're saying about his corny videos, there was nobody that had more coach speak than Franklin. There's a thing out there that, people hear about it, coach speak. When I was at these NIL events, Frank, he does it on purpose. He would take the microphone and he would tell people there, because they're paying to be there as donors. He'd be like, listen, I want you guys to ask me any questions you want, and I'm going to be 100% transparent and honest. He goes, when I speak to the media or anywhere else, I try to say a lot of stuff without saying anything at all. But with you guys being here, I want you to be 100% and honest. And I asked him a question about revenue sharing and NIL, and all he did is to give me some bullshit coach speak anyways. He's just whatever. He's like a trained roller. But the bigger thing, comparing him to Terry when you're saying a real coach is he lost the locker room this year. Like
Absolutely.
there was no player, there was no accountability on the players this year. And that's been mentioned a bunch of times. Terry came in, he was no nonsense. It took him a little bit, but you saw some accountability. You saw things change. Sometimes that might mean pissing people off. I'm sure Nick Singleton was not happy when he wasn't sharing and getting as many carries as Katron, but that's what a real coach does. You play to win. You play to Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. It's big boy football. You're not here to make little Joey and little Timmy happy. This isn't fifth grade football where they all got to play a certain amount of time, And it's just unbelievable he did stuff like that. So there's going to be player accountability. Like I heard something where Campbell was saying, like, you're either in or you're out regarding with the portal. Like he had a model, you're in or you're out with us. No nonsense, accountability. Sure, he'll sit down and negotiate, but he's not going to screw around with you. I mean, and that's the same thing with Deion Barnes. People could agree or disagree with Deion Barnes. The story with Deion Barnes was when Campbell took over, Deion Barnes wanted to stay on. He gave Deion Barnes, and he kept Deion Barnes on, and he gave him a raise of whatever he was making under Franklin. And then a week or so later, what happened was Lane Kiffin hired South Carolina's defensive line coach. So then South Carolina came calling to Deion Barnes and offered him more money. Barnes tried to use that as leverage with Franklin, with Campbell. And Campbell said, nope, I already gave you a raise. You said you're staying. We're not going to do this. You want to go? Goodbye. That was it. Now, I do think he has to be a little bit flexible with that when it comes to recruiting, because there's going to be, that's just how recruiting is. You could have a visit. A kid usually goes on like 4 official visits. And if you have one of the first or second official visits for a top target, let's say there's a top receiver out there. You offer him $400,000 to come here, right? He goes on his other official visits. They offer him $600,000, $700,000. You really want this guy. He's a stud, right? You got to be willing to, be a little flexible if he comes back to you and says, listen, coach, I really want to be at Penn State, but these guys are offering me so much more money. Could you, come close? He's got to be a little flexible in that way, but there's going to be player accountability overall. And, it's going to be, I think we're going to have a good culture. He's a culture builder. Like Campbell is a very good culture builder. So we'll be good. But all the guys, I'm sorry, I just say with all the guys coming back, like this isn't all that. Like the more and more I think about it, our core pieces to our offensive line is back. You got Rocco Beck coming in that knows the offense. Whatever the running back situation is going to be good. Whether it's Quentin Martin, Tiki Hayes is really good. Whether it's the Iowa State backs, we're going to be fine at running back. Have to go out and get some receivers in the portal. Even if Kobe Howard stays and they bring an ISU guy in or so, you'd have to think we're going to go out and try to get a stud receiver. The biggest need right now that we need more than anything that I would watch in the portal is defensive line. Defensive tackle, really bad, but DN too. But, Xavier Gilliam is gone. We don't have any defensive tackles with much experience except for Ty Blanding. And here's another thing that I like about Campbell that historically he likes is different than Franklin. Campbell likes bigger defensive tackles. Franklin always liked the smaller athletic guys. Like when Franklin recruited Ivan Camacho, he was originally supposed to be a defensive tackle, but he was explosive enough and quick enough and agile enough to be an end. But Franklin liked your smaller Hakeem Beeman types, like guys that could move. And I get that. You don't want some 330-pound fat slob out there. But I've never seen defensive tackles get pushed around so easy into my life than what I did this past year with Ford, Gilliam, and Durant. So having some big boys up front, having more of like a Daquan Snyder type or a Jimmy Kennedy type up front, that's going to help. That's another thing that Campbell likes and will help us a lot in the run game. It's going to be interesting. All the news right now is who's leaving and who's staying. And of course, Iowa State, all their guys in the portal that you could expect, we'll get some Iowa State guys. But other than that, I don't know who they're going to target in the portal. I don't know his name, but there's been some talk about a defensive tackle from Kansas State. But you got to really watch what they do at defensive tackle and defensive end. That is the biggest need right now to get some big boys up front.
Absolutely. Did Denmark? No, he didn't yet. Otten hasn't, and Howard hasn't. I think those guys will stay. Like the guys that we want to stay, I think will stay, but we'll see. To your point, Matt Campbell, yes, he did. Yep. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. If Ryan Day is James Franklin 2.0, if he didn't have all the 5 stars, he would not have won a national championship. Dude, I disagree with that. I think Ryan Day's a great coach. And if you're an Ohio State fan, you guys, again, like I've said it for years, you guys expose yourselves every day. You guys are so ungrateful. You don't have a clue what it's like to be where you're at. You guys are lucky that you have Ryan Day.
That's part of coaching. Like, I have a buddy that says that, like, Ohio State's been great for so long. They weren't horrible against Miami. Miami had one of the best defenses in the country, the best defensive line. What is a coach supposed to do? Not go out and recruit the best he could? So now he's going out recruiting the best he could. And then if he wins with that talent, well, it doesn't count because of the talent. It all goes hand in hand. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like,
Bro, his winning percentage it's insane. Like his winning percentage is like what, 85% or something like that.
It's really good.
They're not good.
And I get the point the guy's making, but
Yeah, but I think he's a great coach, man. You Ohio State fans are so ungrateful, so spoiled. But Chris, if that's all you got, man, thank you again for coming on. Chris, we're gonna have you on. Problem. We're gonna have you on more and more, but I've been busy, you've been busy, Brett's been busy. We just haven't. We stay in touch like almost every day, but we'll get you on, and we're gonna have you on all off season, man. And again, you do great work. Check him out on Big Ten Huddle. Chris is the man. He's very knowledgeable, one of the best in the business, and he's not. Chris isn't flashy, and he's not like boastful, and that's how you have real coaches. Chris is a real analyst, so.
I have a passion for it. I say I'm not an insider because I do have some connections. I don't think I have enough connections and I talk to enough where I would consider myself an insider. But I'm very good with player evaluations. That's what I did in Rivals. Yep. That's my passion, what I have. So, and obviously I have a big passion for Penn State football. So I do what I can. That's all it is. I'm not here looking to start a channel or anything like that. A buddy of mine says, start a Twitter follower and get, I can care less about that stuff, man. I'm old school. I don't care. I drive a 2010 Toyota that's probably hanging together with friggin' tape on half the parts, and I could care less.
Well, Chris, you have a good job, so like I don't think you're hurting for money or anything like that. I hope you're not.
No, I'm all right.
But Chris is Chris, you've mentioned it before what you do, right?
No, I work in a prison. I work in the state prison. Yeah. I work for I'm an activities guy. It's kind of like a gym teacher for inmates.
Yep. Yeah, so Chris is a service member, and like a cop or something like that. So thank you, Chris.
I was a corrections officer for a little bit. Then I went to activities because it's like it was better paying, better scheduled. That's what I do.
Well,
activity specialist is
yeah.
the title.
Well, you guys get taps at your funerals and stuff like the military, like police. My two uncles were prison guards. My dad was a prison guard at one point. So, you guys help keep us safe. So we appreciate that, Chris. And
No
we will see you guys. I don't know when, soon. Well, I'll probably be on here tomorrow for something. Who knows? Something will happen. But at this point, I'm like addicted to doing this show. So I just come on here almost every day. But all right. And Chris, you've given us shout outs on Big Ten Huddle. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right, guys. Have a great
good
night,
one, fellas.
And thank you, Indiana, for they beat the piss out of them. Holy crap!
They beat the piss out of me too. This is the third time I went against Indiana this year. The third. I just keep thinking eventually, like the talent is going to catch up, but it doesn't. It's.
Well,
it's
I think they're the real deal, man. Like honestly,
they are.
They're the real deal. They are. Like I think they win it all, which is insane. Like that's a miracle. What's happened there? Absolute miracle.
Yeah, it is.
But I like him, man. I like him. Like I like Mendoza. He's a great guy. Like he seems like a great guy. And yeah, I mean, it's just a nice kid, man. Nice, clean cut kid. Won the Heisman. I think Georgia wins, Thomas. But either Ole Miss blows them out or Georgia wins in a close game.
I think Georgia wins. I can't see Ole Miss blowing them out. I think Georgia wins. Georgia just seems like Kirby Smart is a nut on the sideline. Like when you want to talk about an alpha coach and the guy just does everything to make sure his team's ready and is so into the game. Georgia is a team that just seems to get better and better as the year goes on. Yeah. They could lose. Ole Miss is really good too, obviously. But I mean, it's hard to go against Georgia. They're playing as good as any. Well, them and Indiana are playing as good as anybody right now.
Yep. All right, Chris. Thanks again for coming on, man.
All right.
I would say follow him, but he doesn't have anything to follow. So just follow Big Ten Huddle and us.
All right, guys. I'll see you later.
Yep. Have a good night.